How does a man wake from a 6-month coma, get evicted by his own son, and still walk away with control? They thought I would never wake up, never ask questions, never come back. 3 hours after I left quietly, they learned what happens when assumptions meet paperwork. Before we continue, we ask you to hit the hype button, subscribe, and like the video to help the channel grow. Tell us which city you are from in the comments. We would like to get to know our audience better. The ceiling tiles above me were beige, not white. Beige with water stains shaped like continents I couldn't name. My throat felt like I'd swallowed gravel, and my arms weighed more than they should have. The fluorescent lights hummed in a frequency that made my teeth ache. A nurse leaned over me. Her badge said, Sky. She smiled the way people smile at strangers they're relieved to see conscious. Mr. Salas, welcome back. You gave everyone quite a scare. I tried to speak. Nothing came out but a rasp. She held a cup with a straw to my lips. Small sips. Your throat needs time. The water tasted metallic. I swallowed twice, waited, then managed a single word. How long? Sky's smile flickered. 6 months. Almost to the day, you were in a medically induced coma after the accident at the plant. Do you remember anything? I remembered a valve rupture, steam, someone shouting my name, then nothing. The plant, I said. You're at County General. You've been stable for 3 weeks, but we needed to be sure before reducing sedation. Your son has been kept informed of your progress. Ethan, my son, 27 years old, worked in sales for a furniture distributor. Married Maribel 2 years ago at a courthouse ceremony I paid for. Where is he? I asked. Sky checked a monitor beside the bed. He was notified this morning that you'd regained consciousness. I'm sure he'll be here soon. There are some forms we need to go over. Standard discharge planning. Discharge? You've recovered remarkably well. Physical therapy will continue outpatient, but there's no medical reason to keep you here. We'll have a case manager discuss next steps. I closed my eyes. 6 months. Half a year gone. I'd been paying off that house for 23 years. 3 more and it would have been mine outright. When I opened my eyes again, Sky was adjusting an IV line. There was some confusion early on, she said quietly. Next of kin decisions were already discussed when your prognosis was uncertain. But you're awake now, so that's all behind us. What decisions? She hesitated. You'll want to speak with Mr. Keller from Patient Services. He handles those conversations. I'll let him know you're alert. She left before I could ask anything else. I stared at the beige tiles and counted the stains. 14. 14 places where water had leaked through and left its mark. An hour later, a man in a gray suit appeared in my doorway. He carried a tablet and wore the expression of someone who delivered bad news for a living. Mr. Salas, I'm Ronan Keller, Hospital Legal Liaison. I'm glad to see you've recovered. May I come in? I nodded. He sat in the chair beside my bed and placed the tablet on his lap. I need to review some procedural matters with you. When you were admitted, your condition was critical. Your son, as next of kin, was consulted on care decisions. At one point, a DNR discussion occurred. A what? Do not resuscitate. It wasn't implemented, obviously, but it was discussed. Your son was also in contact with our discharge planning team regarding post-recovery housing. I believe there was mention of assisted living arrangements. I looked at him. I own a house. Yes, I see that in your file. But given the uncertainty of your recovery timeline, your son explored contingency options. Those discussions are now moot, but I wanted to ensure you were aware they occurred. Where's Ethan now? Ronan checked his tablet. He was notified at 8 this morning. It's nearly noon. I don't have information beyond that. I thanked him and asked for discharge papers. He nodded. I'll have them prepared. You should be ready to leave tomorrow, pending a final physician clearance. After he left, I lay there listening to the hospital sounds. Phones ringing, carts rolling, a television playing down the hall. I thought about Ethan, about what contingency options meant when your father was supposed to be gone. That evening, I walked the corridor outside my room. My legs were weak, but they held. A physical therapist had shown me stretches earlier and said I was recovering faster than expected. I moved slowly, steadying myself against the wall when I needed to. As I passed the nurse's station, I overheard voices. Shouldn't be much longer now, one nurse said quietly. 6 months is a long time to wait, another replied. The son seemed sure it was temporary. He was already looking at places. They stopped talking when they noticed me. Sky waved from behind the desk. I waved back and kept walking. When I returned to my room, a business card was tucked into the fold of my blanket. No name, just a phone number and a handwritten note. Discharge housing notes available upon request, records office. I slipped it into the pocket of the hospital gown. The next morning, the doctor cleared me. No neurological issues, motor function intact, memory sharp. I signed paperwork while a case manager reviewed follow-up appointments and medications. "Do you have someone picking you up?" she asked. "I'll call my son." She nodded and mentioned transportation services, just in case. I called Ethan from the hospital phone. He answered after several rings. "I'm being discharged," I said. "Can you pick me up?" There was a pause. Then, "Yeah, of course. Give me an hour." He arrived 90 minutes later. I was waiting in the lobby with a plastic bag holding the clothes I'd worn the day of the accident. They smelled like bleach and storage. Ethan looked thinner. His hair was shorter. He hugged me briefly. "Good to see you up," he said. "Good to be up?" We walked to his car, a newer sedan. "Nice car," I said. "Got it a few months ago," he replied. "Better financing." We drove in silence. The streets felt familiar but altered. New signs, new businesses, a gas station where a diner used to be. "How's Maribel?" I asked. "She's at the house." "My house?" He glanced at me. "Yeah, we've been staying there, keeping things going." I said I appreciated it. When we pulled into my driveway, the lawn was trimmed. The porch light was on, even though it was daytime. Maribel opened the door before we reached it. She smiled politely but didn't call me Dad. Inside, the furniture had been rearranged. A television hung where my bookshelf used to be. "We made a few changes," Ethan said. "Hope that's okay?" "Where are my books?" I asked. "In the garage. We boxed them up." Maribel crossed her arms. "We should talk." She explained that they'd been living there for 6 months, paying utilities, managing the house, handling taxes. They hadn't expected me to come back. "But I did," I said. She nodded, as if that were an inconvenience. Then she told me they'd built a life there, and that I needed to find somewhere else to live. "This is my house," I said. "Not anymore," she replied. "Things changed while you were sleeping." They said my belongings were in the garage. I could take what fit. "When do you want me gone?" I asked. "Today," Maribel said. Ethan looked away, uncomfortable but didn't argue. I looked around the room at what had quietly stopped being mine. "I understand," I said. I went to the garage alone. Ethan offered to help, but I told him I was fine. The boxes were stacked against the back wall, 6 of them. My entire life reduced to cardboard and tape. I opened the first one, books I'd collected over 30 years, histories, biographies, a field guide to North American birds I'd bought when Ethan was 10 and wanted to learn their names. I closed the box. The second box held photo albums, pictures of my wife before she left, pictures of Ethan as a baby, as a kid, high school graduation. I didn't open it all the way. In the third box, I found my toolbox, the good one, the one I'd used to build the deck out back. I took the toolbox and 1 box of books, left the rest. When I came back inside, Maribel was on her phone. Ethan was in the kitchen opening a beer. "That all you're taking?" he asked. "For now." "Where are you going?" "I'll figure it out." He looked at the bottle in his hand. "I can give you some cash. Help you get set up somewhere." "I don't need your money." Maribel ended her call and came into the kitchen. "He's leaving." "Yeah," Ethan said. She walked to the front door and opened it. "Keys." I reached into my pocket and pulled out my house key, the one I'd carried for 23 years. I set it on the table by the door. "And the spare," she said. "I don't have it." "Ethan said you kept one in your wallet." I pulled out my wallet. The spare key was tucked behind my driver's license. I handed it to her. She took both keys and stepped onto the porch. I followed with my boxes. Mrs. Patterson was still trimming hedges. Mr. Vega from 2 doors down was washing his car. Both of them watched. "You need a ride somewhere?" Ethan called from the doorway. "I'll manage." Maribel pulled out her phone. "I'm changing the door code." She tapped the screen. A few seconds later, I heard the electronic lock beep inside the house. "Oh, done," she said. I set the boxes down on the driveway and looked at the house. The house I'd bought when Ethan was 4. The house I'd painted 3 times. The house where I'd replaced every window one summer because the old ones leaked. "This is still my house," I said quietly. Maribel stepped closer. "No, it's not. You were gone. We took over, that's how it works." I picked up my boxes and started walking. "Dad," Ethan's voice behind me. "Seriously, let me drive you somewhere." I kept walking. Behind me, I heard the front door close, then the lock click. I walked to the end of the block. Turned left. Kept going. The bus stop was 6 blocks away. My arms burned by the time I got there. I set the boxes on the bench and sat down. A bus arrived 10 minutes later. I took it downtown. The cement plant was on the east side. I'd worked there for 29 years. Started as a loader. Worked my way to senior technician. I knew every machine in that place. Every valve. Every pressure gauge. I got off 2 stops early and walked the rest of the way. The guard at the gate recognized me. His eyes went wide. "Jared? Holy hell, man. You're alive." "I am." "We heard you weren't coming back. They had a memorial service and everything." "A memorial?" "Not a funeral. Just a thing in the break room. Your locker's still there, though. Nobody touched it." He waved me through. The locker room smelled like concrete dust and sweat. Familiar. My locker was in the back row, 3rd from the left. I turned the combination lock. It opened on the first try. Inside was my spare uniform, my work boots, a thermos, and a stack of mail bundled with a rubber band. I took the mail and sat on the bench. Most of it was junk, flyers, coupons, but 3 envelopes had certified mail stickers. I opened the first one, a notice from the county assessor, property taxes due. The second was from a law office I didn't recognize. Standard estate inquiry, checking if probate was necessary. The third was from my attorney, Diane Mercer. I'd hired her 7 years ago to handle a boundary dispute with a neighbor. After that, she'd helped me draft a will and review some insurance paperwork. Her envelope was thin, a single page. "Annual retainer renewal. Please confirm status." I pulled out my phone. The battery was at 15%. I had 32 missed calls, most from numbers I didn't recognize. 4 from Ethan, all from the first week. I scrolled through my contacts, found Mercer's number. It was saved as Mercer Do Not Lose. I called. A receptionist answered. "Mercer Legal Group." "This is Jared Solis. I need to speak with Diane." "One moment, please." Hold music, something classical. Then Diane's voice. "Jared, my God, we heard you were in a coma." "I was. I'm out. Are you all right?" "I'm functional. I need to meet with you, today if possible." "Of course. I have an opening at 4. Does that work?" "It does. I'll see you then." I hung up. Calvin appeared in the doorway. He was 58, built like a barrel, had worked at the plant since before I started. "Jared." He walked over and gripped my shoulder. "Really good to see you still standing." "Feels good to be here." He sat down beside me. "They told us you probably weren't waking up. Some of the guys were already talking about who'd take your shifts." "I heard there was a service." "Yeah, nothing fancy. Just sandwiches and some words from the floor manager. Your boy didn't show up, though." "He was busy." Calvin studied me. "You okay? You look like someone just told you bad news." "Something like that." He didn't press. That was one thing I'd always liked about Calvin. He didn't ask questions you weren't ready to answer. "You coming back to work?" he asked. "If they'll have me." "They will. We're short-staffed as it is. Talk to Henderson in the office. He'll get you sorted." I thanked him and stood up. "Jared." Calvin's voice stopped me. "If you need a place to crash, I've got a couch." "I appreciate that." "I mean it. No strings, just a couch and some quiet." "I'll keep it in mind." I left the locker room and walked to the plant office. Henderson was on the phone. He looked up, did a double take, and nearly dropped the receiver. He finished his call and came around the desk. "Solis, Jesus Christ, you're vertical." "I am." "When can you start?" "Tomorrow, if you need me." "We need you yesterday." "I'll have HR process your return. Same position, same pay. You good with that?" "I'm good." "Excellent. Be here at 6, usual station." I shook his hand and left. Outside, the afternoon sun was low. The sky was orange and pink, the kind of sunset you only notice when you've been gone a while. I checked my phone. 3:45. Diane's office was downtown. I had just enough time. Diane's office was on the 4th floor of a building that used to be a bank, on high ceilings, old tile floors, the kind of place that felt serious without trying. The receptionist led me to a conference room. Diane was already there, reviewing a folder. She stood when I entered. 51. Gray hair cut short, sharp eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. "Jared, sit, please." I sat. She closed the folder. "Tell me what happened." I explained. The coma. Waking up. The eviction. Maribel changing the locks. Diane listened without interrupting. When I finished, she opened the folder again. "Do you have a copy of your property deed?" "Not on me." That's fine. I have it here. You retained me for estate planning 7 years ago. Part of that work included verifying clear title on your property. According to county records, you are the sole owner. No liens, no co-signers. Is that still accurate? Yes. Did you ever sign a transfer of deed? No. Power of attorney? No. Any document giving your son legal authority over your property or finances? Nothing. She made a note. Then what he did is not legal eviction. It's trespassing compounded by unlawful exclusion. Can I get back in? You can, but we need to do this correctly. If you force entry, it becomes a he said, she said dispute. If we go through proper channels, the sheriff will escort you back in and remove them if necessary. How long does that take? Normally, a week. But given the circumstances, I can expedite. We'll file for immediate occupancy restoration based on clear title and unlawful exclusion. I'll also request a standby locksmith authorized to rekey your property. What do I need to do? Sign an affidavit. Confirm the facts. Let me handle the rest. She slid a form across the table. I read it. Everything I'd told her, now in legal language. I signed. Diane pulled out her phone. I'm calling a locksmith I've worked with before. He's licensed and bonded. If the court approves, he can be there within an hour. Today? Tomorrow morning at the earliest. But I'll push for same-day approval. The judge on duty owes me a favor. She made the call, spoke in clipped professional tones. Hung up. Done. Locksmith is on standby. Now I need to contact the sheriff's office and file the emergency motion. Give me 2 hours. I nodded. She walked me to the door. Jared, I need to ask. Are you sure you want to do this? If you proceed, there will be consequences for your son, legal and financial. He kicked me out of my own house. He did. I just want to make sure you've considered the fallout. I looked at her. I've considered it. All right then. I'll call you when it's done. I left the office and took the stairs down. My phone buzzed. A text from Calvin. Still need that couch? I texted back. Maybe for tonight. I'll let you know. His reply came immediately. Doors open. I walked to the bus stop. The evening crowd was gathering. People coming home from work, students, a man with a dog. I thought about the house, about the look on Maribel's face when she took my keys, about Ethan standing in the doorway, not quite apologizing. My phone rang. Diane. It's approved, she said. Emergency motion granted. Sheriff will meet you at your property tomorrow morning at 9. Locksmith will arrive at the same time. Bring your deed and ID. I don't have my deed. I'll bring a certified copy. Just bring ID. And Jared, one more thing. Do not contact your son tonight. Do not warn him. If he shows up tomorrow and interferes, the sheriff will handle it. Understood? Understood. Good. I'll see you at 9. She hung up. I stood there holding the phone. The bus arrived. I got on. Calvin's apartment was in a complex near the plant, 3rd floor. He answered the door in a t-shirt and jeans, holding a sandwich. Come in. You hungry? Not really. He handed me the sandwich anyway. Eat. You look like you need it. I ate. His apartment was small, clean, a couch, a television, not much else. Couch folds out, he said. Sheets are in the closet. Beer's in the fridge if you want one. Thanks. He sat in a chair across from me. You gonna tell me what's going on, or do I get to guess? I told him. Not everything, just enough. When I finished, he shook his head. That's cold, Jared, even for family. It is what it is. What are you gonna do? I'm getting my house back, tomorrow. You need backup? I've got an attorney and a sheriff. Still, offer stands. I finished the sandwich. I appreciate it, Calvin. I mean that. Don't mention it. I pulled out the couch and made up the bed. Calvin turned off the lights and went to his room. I lay there in the dark, listening to the sounds of the building. Pipes, footsteps above, a television through the wall. I thought about the look on Ethan's face tomorrow when the locksmith arrived. About Maribel realizing she'd been wrong. I didn't feel angry. I felt calm. At some point, I fell asleep. Morning came fast. I woke at 5, folded the couch, and left a note thanking Calvin. The bus to my street ran every 20 minutes. I caught the 6:30. Diane was already there when I arrived. She stood beside a black SUV holding a briefcase. Morning, she said. Morning. Sheriff's on his way. Locksmith is 2 minutes out. Do you have your ID? I handed her my license. She opened her briefcase and pulled out a folder. Here's your certified deed copy. Everything's in order. A white van pulled up. The side read, Apex Lock and Security, licensed and bonded. A man in his 40s stepped out. He shook Diane's hand, then mine. Mr. Solis, I'm Greg. I'll be handling your recce today. Once the sheriff gives clearance, I'll change all locks and provide you with new keys. Shouldn't take more than an hour. Thank you. A sheriff's cruiser turned the corner. It parked behind Greg's van. The deputy was young, maybe 30. He reviewed Diane's paperwork, checked my ID, and nodded. Everything looks good. Let's proceed. We walked up the driveway. The deputy knocked on the front door. No answer. He knocked again. Louder. I heard movement inside. Footsteps. Then Ethan's voice. Who is it? Sheriff's Department. Open the door, please. The lock clicked. The door opened. Ethan stood there in sweatpants and a t-shirt. His hair was messy. He looked at the deputy, then at me, then at Diane. What's going on? The deputy handed him a document. Emergency occupancy restoration. This property is owned by Jared Solis. You are currently occupying it without legal authority. You need to vacate immediately. Ethan stared at the paper. This is my dad's house. We've been living here. Do you have a lease agreement? No, but do you have written permission from the owner to occupy the property? He was in a coma. We were taking care of things. That doesn't constitute legal authority. You need to leave. Maribel appeared behind Ethan. She saw me, and her face went hard. You can't do this. The deputy turned to her. Ma'am, this is a lawful order. You have two options. You can leave voluntarily, or I can arrest you for trespassing. Your choice. This is insane, she said. We've been here for 6 months. We paid bills. We maintained everything. Diane stepped forward. Did you pay those bills with Mr. Solis's money or your own? Maribel didn't answer. I'll take that as confirmation, Diane said. You've been occupying his property and using his resources without authorization. That's not maintenance. That's theft of services. Ethan looked at me. Dad, come on. You can't be serious. I met his eyes. You told me to find another place. We were just... You changed the locks. You took my keys. You told me this wasn't my house anymore. The deputy cleared his throat. Folks, I need you to step outside. The locksmith is going to change the locks. You can collect your belongings later under supervision. Maribel's face flushed. Our stuff is in there. I understand. Once the locks are changed, you can arrange a time to retrieve your property, but you need to leave now. Ethan pulled out his phone. I'm calling a lawyer. That's your right, the deputy said. But you're still leaving. Greg the locksmith stepped onto the porch. I'm ready when you are, deputy. The deputy nodded. Proceed. Greg pulled out a drill. The sound was sharp and loud. He removed the front lock assembly in under a minute. Maribel grabbed Ethan's arm. Do something. What do you want me to do? Fight this. He can't just kick us out. The deputy's radio crackled. He stepped away to respond. I stood on the lawn, watching. Mrs. Patterson was in her driveway now. Mr. Vega had come outside. A woman I didn't recognize was filming on her phone. Greg installed the new lock. Tested it. Handed me 3 keys. All set, Mr. Solis. Front door is secure. Thank you. The deputy returned. I've confirmed with the county clerk. Title is clear. No disputes. Mr. and Mrs. Solis, you need to leave the property immediately. Ethan looked at me one more time. Dad, please. I said nothing. He turned and walked down the driveway. Maribel followed, her phone pressed to her ear. The deputy waited until they reached the sidewalk, then nodded to me. Property is yours, Mr. Solis. If they return without your permission, call us immediately. I will. He got in his cruiser and left. Diane put a hand on my shoulder. I'll draft a formal trespass notice and have it served by end of day. They won't be able to claim ignorance. What about their belongings? They can request supervised retrieval, standard procedure. I'll coordinate with the sheriff's office. How long do I have to keep their things? Legally? 30 days. After that, you can dispose of them as you see fit. Understood. She closed her briefcase. I'll send you an invoice for services. No rush on payment. I'll pay today. Jared, there's no need to... I'll pay today. She nodded. All right. Take care of yourself. She got in her SUV and drove away. I stood alone on my lawn. The same lawn I'd seeded 3 years ago. The same driveway I'd resurfaced 2 summers back. I walked up the porch steps and unlocked the front door with my new key. Inside, everything was exactly as I'd seen it yesterday. Rearranged furniture, new television, their photos on the wall. I walked through each room, the kitchen, the bathroom, the bedroom. In the bedroom, their clothes were everywhere. Maribel's makeup covered the dresser. Ethan's shoes lined the closet floor. I didn't touch anything. I went back to the living room and sat on the couch. The same couch I'd bought 15 years ago. It sagged in the same spot. My phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. Mr. Solis? A woman's voice. Professional. Yes. This is Linda from County Clerk's office. I'm calling to confirm that a property verification request was processed this morning. Everything is in order. Your deed is recorded and current. No liens, no encumbrances. Thank you. You're welcome. Have a good day. She hung up. I looked around the room. At the television that wasn't mine. At the photos I didn't recognize. Then I stood up and started putting things back the way they were. By noon, I'd moved the couch back to its original position. The television was still mounted on the wall, but I unplugged it. The photos came down. I stacked them neatly on the dining table. Ethan and Maribel's belongings stayed untouched. I wasn't going to give them a reason to claim I'd damaged anything. I found my books in the garage, right where Ethan said they'd be. I carried the boxes inside one at a time. My arms ached, but it felt good, purposeful. The bookshelf was in the garage too, leaning against the wall. I brought it in and reassembled it. 3 of the shelves had scratches I didn't remember, but it was still solid. By 2 o'clock, the living room looked like mine again. I made a sandwich from the food in the fridge. There wasn't much. Deli meat that smelled questionable, half a loaf of bread, some mustard. I ate standing at the kitchen counter. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. This is Ethan. We need to talk. I didn't respond. Another text. I know you're upset, but this is extreme. Then another. Maribel is freaking out. We have nowhere to go. I put the phone face down on the counter. It buzzed 3 more times. I didn't look. At 4, I walked to the cement plant. My shift started at 6, but I wanted to be early. Wanted to settle back into routine. Calvin was in the locker room when I arrived. How'd it go? He asked. I've got my house back. He grinned. That's right, you do. Your boy take it well? Not particularly. Tough. He brought it on himself. I changed into my work uniform. It still fit. The boots were stiff, but they'd loosen up. Calvin leaned against the lockers. You know there's going to be fallout, right? Family stuff doesn't just disappear. I know. You okay with that? I'm okay with it. He nodded. Good. Let's get to work then. The shift was long but familiar. I checked pressure valves, monitored temperature gauges, logged readings every 30 minutes. The other techs welcomed me back without making a big deal out of it. That was the thing about plant work. If you showed up and did your job, nobody cared about your personal life. At midnight, I clocked out. Calvin caught me at the gate. You heading home? Yeah. Good. That's where you belong. I took the late bus. The streets were empty. A few cars, some streetlights flickering. When I got home, there was a note taped to the front door. Dad, please call me. We need to figure this out. Ethan. I unlocked the door and went inside. I crumpled the note and threw it away. In the bedroom, I stripped the bed. Their sheets went into a trash bag. I found my own sheets in the hall closet, still in the plastic from when I'd stored them. I made the bed and lay down. The ceiling was familiar. The same crack near the light fixture. The same shadow pattern from the tree outside. I closed my eyes and slept. The next 3 days followed the same pattern. Work, home. Avoid Ethan's calls and texts. On the 4th day, Diane called. Jared, your son has requested supervised access to retrieve his belongings. I've scheduled it for tomorrow at 10. A deputy will be present. You don't have to be there, but I'd recommend it. I'll be there. Good. Keep it civil. Don't engage if he tries to argue. Let the deputy handle any disputes. Understood. The next morning, I was on the porch at 9:30. The deputy arrived at 9:50. Same young guy from before. Morning, Mr. Solis. Morning. This should be straightforward. They'll have 1 hour to remove their personal belongings. Nothing that belongs to you. If there's a dispute about ownership, I'll make the call. Okay. Ethan's car pulled up at 10 sharp. He and Maribel got out. She looked tired. He looked angry. The deputy met them at the curb. You have 1 hour, personal items only. No furniture unless you can prove ownership. Maribel walked past me without a word. Ethan stopped. Dad. Ethan. Can we please talk about this? The deputy stepped between us. Sir, you're here to collect belongings, that's all. Ethan clenched his jaw and went inside. I stayed on the porch. For the next hour, they carried boxes and bags to the car. Clothes, shoes, kitchen items I didn't recognize. Maribel's makeup and toiletries. At one point, Ethan came out carrying the television. The deputy stopped him. Is that yours? We bought it. Do you have a receipt? It's in storage somewhere. Then it stays. Are you serious? If you can't prove you purchased it, it stays. Those are the rules. Ethan set the television down hard. This is ridiculous. He went back inside. 20 minutes later, Maribel emerged with a framed photo from the mantel. The one of her and Ethan at some beach. The deputy didn't stop her. At 11, the hour was up. The deputy knocked on the door. Ethan came out. We're not done. Your time is up. If you need more, you'll have to schedule another appointment. This is insane. We lived here for 6 months. That doesn't give you ownership rights. You're done for today. Maribel pushed past him and got in the car. Ethan stood there staring at me. I hope you're happy, he said. I didn't respond. He got in the car and drove away. The deputy handed me a form. Inventory of removed items. Sign here. I signed. If they request another session, we'll notify you. Otherwise, after 30 days, anything remaining becomes your property. Thank you. He left. I went back inside. The house was quieter now, emptier in some places, but more like mine. I sat on the couch and looked around. No television, no photos that weren't mine. Just the space I'd lived in for over 20 years. It felt right. The next 2 weeks passed quietly. Ethan stopped texting. Maribel didn't call. The house slipped back into its old rhythms. I replaced the oversized television with a smaller one I found on sale. I didn't need much, just news and weather. Work filled the rest of my time. The plant was running double shifts to meet a deadline, and I volunteered for overtime. The extra money helped, so did having less time to think. Calvin noticed. You're here more than you're home, he said one night in the break room, catching up on lost time. Or avoiding something. I didn't argue. He poured coffee from his thermos and slid a cup toward me. Your boy come back for his things? Not yet. You gonna keep them? After 30 days, it's legally mine. I'll donate most of it. Calvin nodded. Clean slate? Something like that. We drank in silence. The fridge hummed. A birthday card for Gary from maintenance was taped to the board. You ever regret it? Calvin asked. Regret what? Pushing back. Some folks would have let it go. I thought about the hospital, about being told to leave my own house. No, I said. I don't regret it. Good. The days blurred together. Machines, readings, routines I'd known for nearly 30 years. There was comfort in the repetition. On day 26, I started going through the house more carefully. Not cleaning, just noticing. Maribel's clothes still hung in the closet. Dresses I'd never seen her wear. Shoes that looked expensive. In the back, I found a box of Ethan's old baseball cards, the ones I used to drive him to shows for when he was a kid. I left the box where it was. In the bathroom, Maribel's makeup covered half the counter. Bottles and tubes and compacts. I didn't touch any of it. The garage held the most. Boxes labeled in Ethan's handwriting. College stuff. Winter clothes. Important papers. I opened the one marked Important Papers. Tax returns from the last 3 years. Maribel's student loan statements. A folder labeled House Plans. I pulled out the folder. Inside were printouts from real estate websites. Houses for sale. All of them in neighborhoods across town. All of them marked with notes in Maribel's handwriting. Too small. Wrong school district. Ask about foundation. At the bottom of the folder was a handwritten list titled After. After what? It didn't say. But the list included sell or rent. Market value estimate. Contact realtor, Susan Chen. I stared at the list for a long time. Then I put it back in the folder. Put the folder back in the box. Closed the box. They'd been planning this. Not just living there temporarily. Planning. I went back inside and called Diane. Jared, everything all right? I found something. Plans to sell the house. Notes about market value. A realtor's name. She was quiet for a moment. That's premeditation. It strengthens your position if they try anything else legally. Do you want me to document it? No, I just wanted you to know. All right. But Jared, keep that folder. Don't throw it away. If they escalate, it's evidence. I will. 2 more days until the 30-day deadline. Have you decided on disposal? Yes. Let's do the supervised service. I want everything documented. I'll arrange it. We hung up. On day 28, Diane called back. Jared, just a reminder. In 2 days, anything your son left behind becomes your property. If you want to dispose of it, you'll need documentation. I've arranged for Clear Path Disposal to come on day 31. They'll inventory everything, photograph it, and either donate or dispose of it per your instruction. You'll get a receipt. No one can claim you acted maliciously. Good. They can come as early as 9 in the morning. Does that work? It does. Perfect. I'll send you the details. That evening, I walked through the house one more time. Slowly, room by room, not touching anything, just looking at the walls, the corners, the places where their things still sat, pretending they belonged there. Part of me wondered if I should give Ethan one more chance. Send a text, make a call, offer one final opportunity before the line was crossed for good. But then I remembered standing on the porch while Maribel changed the locks. Remembered the calm certainty in her voice when she told me to find another place. Remembered Ethan standing in the doorway, eyes down, not quite apologizing, not quite stopping her. I didn't send a text. On day 29, I got up early and went to work. The shift was long. 12 hours of monitoring pressure levels, logging temperatures, checking gauges that never slept. My back ached by the time I clocked out, but the ache felt earned. Familiar, honest. Calvin caught me at the gate. Tomorrow's the day, right? It is. You need me there? I've got professionals handling it. He nodded once. Good. Let them do the heavy lifting. I took the bus home. The streets were dark, almost empty. A few cars passed, headlights cutting through the quiet. The city felt still in a way it rarely did, like it was holding its breath. When I got home, there was a note taped to the door. Dad, I know tomorrow is the deadline. Please call me. We can work something out. Ethan. I stared at it for a moment, then unlocked the door, went inside, crumpled the note, and dropped it into the trash. My phone buzzed. Did you get my note? I didn't answer. Another text followed. I know the deadline is tomorrow. Can I come get the rest? I typed carefully. Deadline is legally binding. Supervised removal was available. You didn't schedule it. His response came fast. Dad, please. Some of that stuff is important. You had 30 days. I didn't think you'd actually go through with it. I set the phone down. It buzzed 5 more times. I didn't look. On day 30, I woke at 6, made coffee, sat on the porch and watched the sunrise climb slowly over the rooftops. The neighborhood was waking up. Mrs. Patterson walking her dog, Mr. Vega leaving for work, a delivery truck rumbling past. Everything felt normal, routine, like any other morning. At 8:30, a white truck pulled up. The side read, Clear Path Disposal and Donation Services, licensed and insured. 2 men stepped out. One was older, maybe 60. The other looked like he was in his 20s. The older man extended his hand. Mr. Solis, I'm Derek. This is my son, Tim. We're here to handle the removal. Come in. They brought cameras, clipboards, and rolling bins. We'll photograph everything before we touch it, Derek explained. You'll get a full inventory and receipts. Anything donatable goes to charity. The rest gets disposed of properly. Should take about 3 hours. Take your time. They worked methodically. Every item photographed, every box logged, no rushing, no commentary. This blender yours? No. These tools? Those are mine. These baseball cards? I looked at the box. Ethan's collection. Hours of Saturdays spent at card shows, waiting in folding chairs while he traded like it mattered. Disposal, I said. Derek nodded and wrote it down. Maribel's makeup, disposal, Ethan's college textbooks, donation, winter clothes, donation, the box labeled house plans. I had Derek photograph every page before adding it to disposal. At one point, Derek held up a framed photo, Ethan and Maribel on their wedding day. This? I looked at it. The courthouse steps, their smiles. My money had paid for the license. Disposal. Derek placed it in the bin without comment. By 11:30, they were nearly finished. The house was almost empty of everything that wasn't mine. My phone rang. Ethan. I answered. Dad, I'm 5 minutes away. Please don't do this. It's already done. What do you mean done? Everything's been removed, documented, donated, or disposed of. You can't do that? It's done, Ethan. That was our stuff. Maribel's stuff. My stuff. You had no right. I had every right. 30 days. You didn't come back. Because I didn't think you'd actually... You thought wrong. I hung up. Derek handed me a folder. Complete inventory. Donation receipts. Disposal documentation. Thank you. They drove away. Moments later, a car screeched to a stop. Footsteps, pounding on the door. I opened it. Ethan stood there, red-faced, breathing hard. Maribel behind him. Where is it? Gone. You're lying. I have receipts, inventory, photos. I want my stuff. It's not your stuff anymore. Maribel pushed forward. You had no right. This is my house, I said. You were trespassing. The law gave you 30 days. You didn't use them. Her face went pale. My grandmother's necklace was in there. You should have taken it. Ethan stepped closer. You'll regret this. I won't. They left, already talking about lawyers. I closed the door, locked it. The house was silent. Completely silent. I made a sandwich and ate it standing at the counter. Outside, Mrs. Patterson was trimming her hedges again. She glanced at the house and gave a small nod. I nodded back. 3 weeks passed, no calls, no texts, no surprise visits. I fell into a routine, work at 6, home by 12:30, sleep, repeat. The house stayed clean. I fixed things I'd been meaning to fix for years. A loose cabinet hinge, a dripping faucet, the screen door that never closed right. The light fixture in the hallway had been flickering since before the accident. I bought a new one at the hardware store. LED, brighter, more efficient. It took 20 minutes to install. When I flipped the switch, the hallway lit up clean and white. Small victories, but they added up. Calvin stopped asking questions. We worked side by side, and when the shift ended, we went our separate ways. But one evening, he caught me in the parking lot. You doing all right, Jared? I'm fine. You look tired. Overtime catches up? He studied me for a moment. If you need anything, you know where I am. I know. Thanks, Calvin. He clapped me on the shoulder and walked to his truck. I took the bus home. The evening air was cool. Fall was coming. The trees were starting to turn. When I got home, there was an envelope wedged in the door frame. No stamp. Hand-delivered. I opened it. A business card fell out. Trevor Adams, attorney at law. Behind it was a letter on law firm letterhead. Mr. Solis, I represent Ethan and Maribel Solis in a civil matter regarding property maintenance and unlawful disposal. My clients believe they are entitled to compensation for expenses incurred during your medical absence, as well as damages for personal property disposed of without proper notification. We would prefer to resolve this matter amicably. Please contact my office at your earliest convenience to discuss settlement options. If we do not hear from you within 7 business days, my clients are prepared to file a formal complaint. Sincerely, Trevor Adams, Esquerdo. I read the letter twice. Then I folded it and put it back in the envelope. Inside, I called Diane. They sent a lawyer, I said. I know. He contacted me first. I told him to save his time. What are they claiming? Unjust enrichment and unlawful disposal. Essentially, they believe they improved your property and you benefited without compensating them. They also claim you destroyed sentimental items without proper notification. Can they win? No, they were trespassing. You can't claim compensation for maintaining a property you're unlawfully occupying, and the disposal was fully documented. You gave them 30 days. They didn't act. I've already drafted a response. If they file, we'll move to dismiss immediately. Good. Jared, there's something else. The disposal company reported a complaint. Your son claimed you destroyed items of significant sentimental value. He specifically mentioned baseball cards and a family necklace. Everything was documented. They had 30 days. I know, but he's going to push this angle. Emotional distress, irreplaceable items. It's a common tactic. Let him push. All right, just be prepared. This could drag out, and it might get uglier before it gets better. I'm prepared. One more thing. Don't respond to Trevor Adams directly. Forward anything he sends to me. Don't engage. I won't. We hung up. I looked at the letter again. 7 business days. That gave them until next Friday. I set the letter on the kitchen counter and went to take a shower. The hot water felt good. My back ached from the shift. My shoulders were tight. I stood under the spray until the water started to cool. When I got out, I made dinner, chicken and rice. Nothing fancy. I ate at the table and watched the evening news. A storm system was moving in. Rain expected by the weekend. Temperatures dropping. I cleaned up, checked the locks, and went to bed. Sleep came slowly. I kept thinking about the letter, about Trevor Adams and his 7-day deadline, about Ethan and Maribel sitting in some office planning their next move. But when I finally slept, I slept deep. The next week was quiet. I worked my shifts, came home, fixed more things around the house. On day 6, I got another letter. Same law firm, different tone. Mr. Solis, we have not received a response to our previous correspondence. My clients have authorized me to proceed with formal litigation if we do not reach an agreement by close of business tomorrow. This is your final opportunity to avoid court costs and additional damages. Regards, Trevor Adams, Esquires. I forwarded it to Diane. She called 5 minutes later. Let them file. We're ready. How much is this going to cost me? Less than settling, and you'll win. They have no case, Jared. This is posturing. All right. When they file, you'll be served with a summons. Don't panic. It's procedure. We'll file our response and motion to dismiss. The judge will likely grant it. This will be over before it really starts. Okay. Hang in there. You're doing everything right. We hung up. I looked around the living room, at the furniture I'd chosen, at the walls I'd painted, at the space I'd lived in for over 20 years. This was worth fighting for. The next afternoon, a process server arrived at the plant. He handed me a folder. Jared Solis? Yes? You've been served. He left. I opened the folder. Official court documents. A civil complaint filed by Ethan Solis and Maribel Solis against Jared Solis. Claims. 1. Unjust enrichment, $30,000. 2. Unlawful disposal of property, $15,000. 3. Emotional distress, $5,000. Total damages sought, $50,000. I read through the complaint. It painted me as a vindictive father who'd locked his son out of a home they'd maintained together, who'd destroyed irreplaceable family heirlooms out of spite, who'd refused all attempts at reconciliation. None of it was true, but it was in writing now. Official. I forwarded everything to Diane and went back to work. That night, Calvin found me in the locker room. You got served today. Word travels fast. Small plant. People notice. You okay? I'm fine. You need anything, you let me know. I will. He left me alone. I finished my shift and went home. The house was dark. I turned on the lights and made a sandwich. My phone rang. Diane. I reviewed the complaint. It's weak. Inflammatory, but weak. I'll file our response tomorrow. Motion to dismiss will follow. That first hearing is probably 4 to 6 weeks out. What do I need to do? Show up when I tell you to. Answer questions truthfully. Don't contact them directly. That's it. All right. Jared, they're going to try to make this personal. They're going to paint you as angry and unreasonable. Don't give them ammunition. Stay calm. Stay factual. I will. Good. I'll keep you updated. She hung up. I sat on the couch and looked at the ceiling. The same ceiling I'd looked at 1,000 times. The same crack near the light fixture. The same shadow from the tree outside. This was mine. I'd earned it, paid for it, maintained it, and I wasn't giving it up. Not to Ethan, not to Maribel, not to some lawyer with a 7-day deadline. I turned off the lights and went to bed. Outside, the first raindrops started to fall. The first hearing was scheduled for early December. Cold day, gray sky. I took the morning off work and met Diane at the courthouse. The building was old stone, high ceilings, marble floors worn smooth by decades of footsteps. It smelled like old paper and floor polish. Diane was waiting in the lobby. She wore a dark suit and carried a leather briefcase that looked older than she was. Morning, Jared. Morning. This is procedural. They'll present their case. We'll present ours. The judge will decide if there's enough merit to proceed to trial. It's usually quick. How quick? 30 minutes, maybe less. We went through security and took the elevator to the 3rd floor. The hallway was lined with benches, other people waiting for other hearings. Lawyers in suits, families in clusters. Courtroom C was at the end of the hall. We went inside. Ethan and Maribel were already seated at the plaintiff's table with Trevor Adams. Ethan glanced at me when I walked in. His expression was hard to read. Not angry, not sad, just blank. Maribel stared straight ahead. She wore a dark dress and had her hair pulled back. Professional. Prepared. Diane and I took our seats at the defense table. She opened her briefcase and arranged documents in neat stacks. Don't react to anything they say, she whispered. Don't shake your head. Don't sigh. Just sit. Okay. At exactly 9 o'clock, the bailiff entered. All rise. We stood. The judge entered, a woman in her 50s with gray hair and sharp eyes behind reading glasses. She took her seat and scanned the file. Please be seated. We sat. She looked up. This is a motion to dismiss in Solis versus Solis. I've reviewed the complaint and the response. Counselor Adams, you may proceed. Trevor stood. Younger than I expected. Early 40s. Expensive suit. Confident posture. Thank you, Your Honor. My clients, Ethan and Maribel Solis, lived at the defendant's property for 6 months while he was medically incapacitated. During that time, they maintained the home, paid utilities, handled repairs, and covered property taxes. When the defendant recovered, instead of acknowledging their contributions, he initiated an unlawful eviction and disposed of their personal property without proper notice. My clients seek compensation for their financial contributions and damages for emotional distress from the loss of irreplaceable items. The judge turned to Diane. Counselor Mercer? Diane stood. Your Honor, the plaintiff's account omits key facts. They had no legal authority to occupy the property, no lease, no written permission. When my client was discharged, they denied him entry and changed the locks. He followed proper legal procedures to regain access. The plaintiffs were given 30 days to retrieve their belongings under supervised conditions, as required by law. They failed to do so. The disposal was documented and handled by a licensed service. This is not unjust enrichment or unlawful disposal. It is trespassing followed by failure to act within the legal time frame. The judge made a note. Mr. Adams, did your clients have a lease agreement? No, Your Honor, but written permission to occupy the property? They were acting as next of kin during a medical emergency. They believed the defendant would not survive. That doesn't answer my question. Did they have written permission? Trevor shifted his weight. No, Your Honor. Did they have power of attorney? No. Any legal document granting them authority over the property? No, but the circumstances. The judge raised a hand. Counselor, the circumstances don't create legal authority. Ms. Mercer, do you have documentation of the disposal process? Diane handed a folder to the bailiff. Complete inventory, photographs, and receipts from Clear Path Disposal Services. Everything was documented per county regulations. The judge opened the folder. She took her time, reviewed each page carefully. The courtroom was silent except for the sound of paper turning. After several minutes, she looked up. Mr. Adams, your clients were occupying property without legal authority. When the lawful owner returned and requested they leave, they had an obligation to do so. Your clients were given 30 days to retrieve their belongings. That exceeds the legal requirement. They chose not to act. The disposal was properly documented. I see no basis for unjust enrichment or unlawful disposal. Trevor opened his mouth to respond. The judge continued. As for emotional distress, that claim requires demonstrating intentional infliction of harm. The evidence shows the defendant followed legal procedures precisely. There is no indication of malicious intent. Your Honor, if I may. You may not. Motion to dismiss is granted. Case dismissed. The gavel came down. Sharp. Final. Trevor's face went red. He turned to whisper something to Ethan. Ethan just stared at the table. Maribel's hands were clenched in her lap. Her face was pale. Diane gathered her documents and put them back in her briefcase. Let's go. I stood. Ethan looked up. Our eyes met for a second. Then he looked away. I followed Diane out of the courtroom. In the hallway, she turned to me. That's it. They can appeal, but they won't win. You're done, Jared. Thank you. You handled yourself well. Stay calm. Let the system work. That's all you need to do. I appreciate everything you've done. She put a hand on my arm. You earned this. Most people would have caved. You didn't. We shook hands and she left. I stood in the hallway for a moment. Other people moved past, lawyers, families, court staff. Behind me, the courtroom door opened. I heard Maribel's voice. This is garbage. He wins because he has better paperwork? Trevor's voice, quieter. The law is the law. The law is broken. I didn't turn around. I walked to the elevator and rode down to the lobby. Outside, the day was cold and bright. The sun reflecting off the courthouse windows made me squint. I took the bus back to the plant. Got there just before the afternoon shift started. Changed into my work uniform and clocked in. Calvin was at his station. How'd it go? Dismissed. He grinned. Good. That's real good, Jared. Yeah. You celebrating? I'm working. He laughed. Fair enough. We went back to monitoring the machines. The familiar rhythm. The steady hum. When the shift ended, I clocked out and went home. The house was quiet, warm, mine. I made dinner, grilled chicken, steamed vegetables. Nothing fancy. I ate at the table and watched the evening news. The weather was getting colder. Snow predicted by the weekend. After dinner, I cleaned up and sat on the couch. My phone was on the table. No calls, no texts. I picked it up and looked at it for a long time. Then I set it back down. Tomorrow I'd go to work. Come home. Fix something else that needed fixing. One day at a time. That's how you build a life. That's how you protect it. Winter settled in hard. The plant slowed for the season. Fewer orders meant shorter shifts and less overtime, so I used the extra time to finish projects around the house. I repainted the kitchen. The old yellow had faded, so I chose a clean white. It made the room feel bigger, brighter. The weather stripping on the front door was worn out. Cold air leaked in whenever the wind picked up. I bought new strips at the hardware store and spent an afternoon installing them. The difference was immediate. The gutters were clogged with leaves and debris. I borrowed a ladder from Calvin and cleaned them out. Found a bird's nest in one corner and set it aside before clearing the rest. Small things, but they mattered. One Saturday, Calvin showed up with a case of beer and 2 pizzas. "Thought you could use some company," he said. We sat on the porch despite the cold, drank beer, ate pizza, watched cars go by. "You hear from your boy?" he asked. "No." "You think you will?" "I don't know. Maybe, maybe not." He nodded. "For what it's worth, you did the right thing." "You think so?" "I know so. A man's got to stand up for himself, especially when family tries to knock him down." We finished the beer. Calvin gathered the empties and boxes. "You need anything? You call me." "I will. Thanks, Calvin." He drove off, and I went inside. The house felt warm, comfortable. I turned on the television and watched baseball highlights. Familiar voices, familiar rhythms. I fell asleep on the couch and woke around midnight. An infomercial was still playing. I turned it off and went to bed. The next few weeks passed quietly. Work, home, fix things, sleep. I replaced the shower head. The old one had lost pressure years ago. The new one was adjustable, and I settled on a steady stream. The bedroom closet door had never closed right. I tightened the hinges and adjusted them. Now it closed smooth and quiet. The kitchen faucet had a slow drip. I replaced the washer and it stopped. Small victories. Every one of them mine. In early January, I was replacing a cracked tile in the bathroom when my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. But something made me pick up. "Dad?" Ethan's voice. Quiet, uncertain. "Yes. I need to talk to you." "Go ahead." "Not on the phone. Can I come over?" I set down the tile cutter. "When?" "Now, if that's okay." I looked at the half-finished bathroom. Tiles scattered on the floor. Grout dust everywhere. "All right. Give me 30 minutes." "Okay, thank you." He hung up. I cleaned up the bathroom as best I could, put the tools away, swept up the dust, washed my hands. 28 minutes later, his car pulled up. I opened the door before he knocked. He stood on the porch alone. No Maribel. He looked thinner than I remembered. Tired. His hair needed cutting. "Come in." He stepped inside and looked around. Took in the changes. The fresh paint. The new television. The reorganized furniture. "You've been busy." "I have." He stood in the middle of the living room with his hands in his pockets. I wanted to say I'm sorry. I didn't respond. "I mean it," he continued. "What we did was wrong. I know that now. I should have known it then, but Maribel kept pushing and everyone kept saying you probably wouldn't wake up, and I listened to the wrong people. You made your choice. I did, and it was the wrong one. I see that now." I sat down on the couch. "Why are you here, Ethan?" "Because I want to fix this. I don't know how, but I want to try." "You can't fix it." "I know I can't undo what happened, but maybe we can move forward. Start fresh." I looked at him. Really looked at him. He'd lost weight. There were circles under his eyes. His clothes hung loose. "Where's Maribel?" I asked. "We separated. She left 3 weeks ago. Said she couldn't handle the stress of everything falling apart." "I'm sorry to hear that." "I'm not. She was the one pushing everything. The house plans, the realtor, all of it. I should have seen it sooner, should have stood up to her, but I didn't. You're a grown man, Ethan. You made your own decisions." "I know. I'm not trying to blame her for everything. I'm just saying I should have thought for myself." We sat in silence. The refrigerator hummed in the kitchen. A car drove past outside. "I got a new job," Ethan said. "Better pay. Night shifts at a distribution center. It's not glamorous, but it's honest work." "That's good. I'm in therapy too, twice a week, trying to figure out why I make the decisions I make, why I let people push me around." "That's good too." He looked at the floor. "I know I hurt you. I know what we did was wrong. I just want you to know I'm working on being better." "I appreciate that." More silence. "Can I ask you something?" Ethan said. "Go ahead." "Do you think you'll ever forgive me?" I thought about that, about waking up in the hospital, about being kicked out of my own house, about watching the disposal truck drive away with his belongings. I don't know, I said honestly. Maybe, eventually, but not today. He nodded. That's fair. He stood up. I should go. I just wanted you to know I'm sorry and that I'm trying. I hear you. He walked to the door, stopped with his hand on the knob. Can I call you sometime, just to check in? You can call? Okay, thank you, Dad. He left. I sat on the couch for a while, thinking about what he'd said. Maribel leaving, therapy, trying to be better. Part of me wanted to believe him, but another part remembered the changed locks, being told to leave, the look on Maribel's face when she took my keys. I went back to the bathroom, picked up the tile cutter, measured the next piece. Work mattered, fixing things. One tile at a time. Ethan called twice over the next few weeks, short check-ins, work, therapy. I listened, said little. In February, I finished the bathroom. New tiles, new grout, clean and straight. I stepped back, my work, my house. It felt good. One evening, I was watching television when someone knocked on the door. I opened it. Ethan stood there holding a folder. I wanted to give you this, he said. He handed me the folder. Inside were documents, receipts, utility bills from those 6 months, property tax payments, all with his name on them. What is this? Proof that I did pay for some things. I'm not asking for the money back. I just wanted you to know I wasn't completely useless. I thought I was helping. I was wrong about a lot of things, but I wasn't wrong about trying to take care of the house. I looked through the documents. Everything was dated. Everything was legitimate. Why are you showing me this? Because I need you to know the truth, the whole truth, not just the bad parts. I closed the folder. Okay. Okay? I believe you. His shoulders relaxed. Thank you. You want to come in? I've got coffee. He hesitated. Yeah, I'd like that. We sat at the kitchen table. I made coffee. We talked about small things, work, weather, the plant, his new job. Nothing deep, nothing heavy, just two people trying to find their way back to something that used to be there. When he left an hour later, I stood on the porch and watched him drive away. The night was cold and clear, stars visible through the bare tree branches. I went back inside and locked the door. The house was quiet. Mine. I'd fought for it, won it back, kept it. But somewhere in the fighting and winning, something else had happened. I'd drawn a line, and Ethan had crossed it. And now we were both trying to figure out if there was a way back. I didn't know the answer, but I knew one thing. I wasn't giving up what was mine. Not for anyone, not even for forgiveness. Spring came late. The snow lingered into March. The plant stayed slow. I kept working my regular shifts and coming home to an empty house. Ethan called every week or so. We talked, brief conversations, nothing significant. He'd tell me about work. I'd tell him the house was fine. Then we'd run out of things to say and hang up. In April, something changed. I was working late at the plant when Henderson called me into his office. He sat behind his desk, looking uncomfortable. Jared, I need to tell you something. What's wrong? Nothing's wrong. We're expanding operations, new contracts. We need more senior technicians. I want to promote you to shift supervisor. I stared at him. Shift supervisor? 20% raise, better benefits. You'd be training the new guys, managing the floor during your shift. You've been here long enough. You know the work better than anyone. When? Next month, if you want it. I want it. He smiled. Good. You've earned it, Jared. I left his office and went back to work. Calvan caught me at my station. Henderson offer you the supervisor spot. How'd you know? I recommended you. Told him you were the best we had. Thanks, Calvin. Don't thank me. You earned it. That night, I went home and sat on the porch. Looked at the street, at the houses, at the trees starting to bud. 29 years at the plant. Finally moving up. My phone rang. Ethan. Hey, Dad. Hey. You sound good. Something happened? Got promoted today. Shift supervisor. Silence. Then, that's great, Dad. Really great. Thanks. Listen, I wanted to ask you something. I know things are still weird between us, but I'd like to try to rebuild, if you're willing. I looked at the house, at the porch light I'd replaced, at the door with the new weather stripping, at everything I'd built and rebuilt and fought to keep. "We can try," I said. "Really?" "Yeah, we can try." "Thank you, Dad." We talked for a few more minutes. Then he said he had to go. After we hung up, I sat there for a long time. The street was quiet. Everything normal. Everything as it should be. I went inside, made dinner. The television played in the background. My phone buzzed, a text from Diane. "Heard about the promotion. Congratulations," I texted back. "Thank you for everything." I set the phone down and looked around the living room. My father's clock on the mantel, my books on the shelves, my furniture in its proper place. This was mine. I'd never stopped fighting for it, never gave an inch, and now everything was exactly where it should be.